At this time, I would like to invite our panelists to join me as we exploring the following topic: PayFi, balancing innovation and regulation. 接下来我们会进行圆桌讨论，主题是 Web3 支付金融创新与监管的平衡。我们邀请我们的嘉宾到台上。May we invite Mr. Edwin Cheung, Global Head of OTC Gates.io, Mr. Burgra, Director Digital Assets and Currencies at HSBC, Mr. Devon, General Manager of Business Banking and Lending at ZA Bank, Mr. Alvin Kwock, Co-founder and CEO at OneInfintity, and Mr. Liang, CEO of HashKey OTC. 掌声有请5位嘉宾。
Hello, 谢谢各位，下午好 Good afternoon, guys. My name is Edwin. I'm the head of OTC at Gate.io. Very pleasure to be here, talking about PayFi, and thanks for, coming to to join us with this PayFi discussion. So today, together with the great panelists, we'll be talking about, what are the trends, what are the challenges that we see in this sector, and also, any exciting projects or any firms that we see in this area. So, to kickstart this, perhaps, Burgra, do you want to have a quick introduction about yourself?
Yes, sure. Hello, my name is Burgra. I am with the Digital Assets and Currencies team in HSBC.
Cool.
Hi, this is Devon from CA. I'm overseeing the general business banking, and actually CA is more, like Web3 friendly bank, so we actually support a lot of the ecosystem player in the Web3.
Hi, this is Alvin Kwock. I'm the co-founder and CEO of One Degree, and we have a OneInfintity brand that is doing the cybersecurity and insurance for blockchain.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Liang. I'm the CEO for HashKey OTC. We are a liquidity provider in the OTC space.
Good stuff, good stuff. So, thanks for joining us. And, to kickstart this, perhaps the first question to Burgra and Devon. You guys are running the fintech arm in the banking. And as we see in the PayFi sector, everyone wants to have smart, quick transfer in the payments area. But a lot of times what we see is that regulatory constraint is the biggest hurdle and obstacles, to get the blessing. So, what are the tips, how you run the banking fintech arms, what are the insights and what are the challenges that you are seeing in this area? Burgra?
Okay, I can start, sure. Yeah, so first of all, building and operating a Web3 environment in traditional finance comes with its own challenges, like you said.
Yeah.
And the governance policies, internal processes, and everything in TradFi are culmination of years of legacy. And when you are building a digital asset product, it's not a straight path. There are obstacles, etc., coming up, and there will be questions that have never been asked before. And answering these questions would take time. You may even need to change the policies, challenge them. It can be an option. And at the same time, when you are building first-in-class product, there is no example that you can take as a base in the world. You will have to invent things. So that's why my suggestion would be having legal and compliance streams starting at the early stages of product development from day one. This would be very important to navigate this kind of complexities. And apart from that, our priority is to address real customer pain points in innovation, through innovation. So, and when we look at the digital assets and Web3 perspective, rather than acting in innovation theater and using buzzwords like blockchain or DLT, etc., we talk to our customers, we look into our customer research, identify the insights, underserved needs, and pain points in the market. Only if we can leverage the Web3 technologies and address these pain points, then we move into the product development. That's overall how we approach.
Right, so legal and compliance, and also on day one, and also on the, engaging with clients, for that. Devon?
I would say as from CA, CA is actually another bank just like HSBC. So we are still governed by the regulators, same standard. And in this regime, and when we talk about how we want to do innovation, Of course, besides, I mean, like legal and compliance, and then from the wants from the customers, and also the things is what that actual product it is. So when we talk about payment, like just what Rita mentioned, there's, like payment 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, this kind of stuff. And maybe right now for CA, we are still more on 1.0 and 2.0, I would say. Of course, we are still riding on the traditional rail. That means with correspondent banking, we know how bad it is. We know the pain point it is. There's also from our customers. And at the same time, we connect to like some Pay 2.01. So that means some fintech, we also work with them. But at the same time, the pain point is still there. So right now, we are also in a very serious discussion on see how the banks can actually go to the stablecoin regime. But right now, I do think in order for Hong Kong as a bank to step into the stablecoin, for the customers to have some real usage, it somehow depends on the regulations. Because we know right now today, the stablecoin regime, the Stablecoin Act is still under the discussion and then going to be the LACO in the coming months. So we expect, of course, that after it is legalized, it is a framework is fixed. And more importantly, we know which stablecoin the banks can actually connect with. Because right now we know a lot of the stablecoin is around the world. Some are regulated, some are like fiat backed, a lot of different kind of stablecoin. But this is more about how the regulators acknowledge the bank can use it.
Yeah, good point. You mentioned about the regulations and compliance pain point. Maybe a questions to Alvin and Liang about, what do you see, what are the key compliance, hurdles or challenges that you see when launching a new products or services in the PayFi area?
Well, I think first of all, financial services is all about trust, right?
Yep.
And security. So back in the time when it was in banking days, for example, this deposit protection scheme. In fact, the idea of deposit protection scheme won a Nobel Prize back in 2022.
Yep.
That was 4 years ago, because that really stabilized the system, avoid bank run and all that, and we just experienced it almost firsthand just a few weeks ago with the Bybit incident, right?
Yeah.
So there was a $1.45 billion hack. Imagine if the amount is not returned to the customer straight away. Pretty much we would have another bank run in the blockchain industry. Now, when it comes to, so we have been in the last few years doing a lot of stuff with the custodians, exchanges, and basically securing the cold wallet and hot wallet assets. Now, when it comes to stablecoin, however, the custody at times is not at the stablecoin issuer, right? So the issue is less about the custodian side. However, there's still a number of different areas that is extremely important. For example, Tether, USDT, has a treasury hack back in some 6-7 years ago. Okay. So, and then, there was at the time it was a 30 million hack. But now, if the amount is much bigger, then is it going to lead to a depacking of the stable coin, right? That is an extremely, extremely important matter. Now, Circle, also, the USDC, also had a couple of different social media hacks previously. So again, those become extremely important issues that we're talking about. Now, when it comes to a social media hack, if someone somehow click on the link of the USDC Circle CEO, for example, and then got the money transmitted using a fake account. So who is going to be responsible for that, right? So there's a lot of those. Well, frankly speaking, this is not something that is completely new. Well, when it comes to the banks, for example, there are a lot of different fake URL address, same thing, right? But I think the hackers are basically moving the kind of the battlefield into this area. So there's just a lot of risk areas that we have to think about and see how we can offer the right type of protection in order for the innovation to thrive.
That's right.
Right, and also like PayFi is like global business. So when you do business on global scale, you have to deal with like regulators from different locations. HashKey OTC, we are licensed on the MAS-DPT license. We have a secured license from Dubai Vara, and also like we have a license exchange in Japan. So in order to build a trust with the regulator, usually when you start to launch new products we usually start from like the simple stuff like on-off ramp, plain vanilla spot transactions, and also like another important point is that we have to work with like established big banks, international banks, regional banks to offer such fiat rails, right? Another thing to add on, Alvin just now pointed out, is the asset safety. So how you can ensure the assets being placed under your platform is safe and sound, that is the paramount question to all the players in this market.
Right. You mentioned about the Singapore, Dubai, all the licensing. I'll come back to that front. That's a very good point that you pointed out. I wanted to navigate a bit more what is the comparison. But before that, a question to Burgra about earlier you talked about the legal and compliance. I'm sure HSBC has already been engaging, lobbying with different regulators. Any tips or insights how for projects that run PayFi business? How are they going to liaise or start engaging with the regulator on day one, as you said? Any things, additional stuff to share?
Sure. Actually, I can share overall how we approach. First of all, first of all, we are closely watching the industry locally and globally, supporting the regulatory developments globally, and participating in related regulatory consultations. We are joining the forums. We are joining the roundtables. And I can give examples from Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, we are participating in Project Enbridge, Project Ensemble, and EHKD+. Project Enbridge focuses on multi-CBDC cross-border arrangements. Project Ensemble explores financial market infrastructure for interbank settlements on digital money through wholesale CBDC. And EHKD+ is the second phase of retail CBDC pilot. So we are also part of Project Ensemble architecture community. We shared our proposal on the technical requirements on cross-bank and cross-chain interoperability for HKMA to build their own interoperability layer. Project Ensemble also consists of experimentation on tokenized deposit use cases from HSBC. And at the same time, we are in the EHKD+ programmability working group exploring token standards and infrastructure requirements with the other participants. So overall, I think being engaged in the regulatory pilots, consultations, and the dialogue is how we approach.
Very interesting about all the projects that you have. What about Devon? On your side, any other projects or compliance?
To see CA also participate in the EHK dollar sandboxing as well. And of course, right now we are more focusing on the coming stablecoin projects that actually the bank is working with those stablecoin sandboxes, so that we are actually knowing how the regulatory regimes will go. So that's why right now, of course, the bank's position is pretty easy. What we are doing is more on the treasury management, on handling, make sure the, the fiat is actually safely stored in the bank. This is something very basic. And of course, for the other stand, other phrases, we would think about how we actually can the banks connect to the ecosystem of the stablecoin issuers. Because different stablecoin issuers, different kind of ecosystem. Maybe just like Rita mentioned, they have some overseas payment is one of it. And for the other one, they may have some trading ecosystem. That means they can facilitate some trading about the tokens in those regulated exchanges as well. So that's why the bank is actually, diverting the attention on different focuses. So the bank is actually right now, we are offering the retail crypto trading. This for the retail side. And for the business banking side, we are actually heavily working with the stablecoin issuers to see what kind of the ecosystem they can actually bring to the customers. Because as I mentioned earlier, our customers, small to medium enterprises, they have a lot of the payment needs around the world. So the point is what that can actually, the stablecoin can bring some new customer experience to them. right now they have to see, they have to be T+2 in the worldwide. Maybe after the stablecoin, they can to do it like 724 in the same day in a very low fee. That's something that what they are really concerned about. To be honest, they are not really concerned about whether it's stablecoin or not, whether it's on-chain or not. To be honest, that is somehow very technical for them because they are not some Web3 guys. But to them, they want a very safe and secure means to process their payment in a low fee. That's what they need.
Right. So I guess a lot of questions people will be asking, is CA Bank issuing any tokens to stablecoins, or you're partnering with a lot of stablecoins issuers?
I would say right now the bank has no plan to do their own issuance of the stablecoin, because actually if the bank is already having some deposits, if we want to go for tokenization version, we may go tokenized deposit, so we may not need a stablecoin, but rather we would like to see how the banks can be the distributor for the stablecoin to facilitate different kind of the payment ecosystem. But that is still, as I mentioned before, it really depends on the regulatory stand. Because right now we know different kind of stablecoin have different kind of supporting and a strong ecosystem. But to the bank side right now, the first priority is more about the cross-border payment.
Okay, got you. What about Liang? From your side, HashKey as a regulated crypto exchange, how do you see the PayFi? What are the challenges and compliance constraints?
Sure. I think for HashKey, we're running business in different locations, so we are dealing with the regulators at different locations like Singapore, Hong Kong, and like Dubai and Japan. I would say each location, the regulators' attitude towards how to promote this ecosystem is very different. Taking Singapore, for example, if you do crypto, it is falling under the so-called DPT, Digital Payment Token, and it is regulated under Payment Service Act, the PSA Act. And if you're doing derivatives, then it's totally unregulated, right? In Hong Kong, if you're doing exchange, that's on the SFC, stablecoins on the MA, and if you are doing OTC, right now there's a debate. Currently there's a debate between SFC and customers about licensing issuing. In Dubai, it is I would say a bit flexible, more friendly. So we set up entity in Dubai last year, whereby it allow us to do both OTC and also exchange business there. Japan, again, is very different as well. Japan, if you want to do crypto, then you need to apply this crypto exchange license, but it entails you to do both OTC and exchange, right? So to summarize, I think it's not that easy to navigate through different regulator regime. So from that front, I think we need to have as Burgra just now mentioned, early communication and frank communication with the regulators to let them have confidence in a way that how we're gonna carry out our own business operations.
Yeah, I can see. Running a global business that requires a lot of different licenses in different regulatory areas. Wanted to understand a little more to Alvin's, questions. What do you see on the PayFi area? Any exciting business or projects that you see in the market, or even you're launching any PayFi business? Could you share with the audience about that?
Well, I think payment is one thing that, obviously is there's a lot of for us we have a regulated insurance company, so collecting of premium, payment of claims. I think that is something very straightforward. But also what I found is there's a lot of opportunity when it comes to tokenized investments, right? So, and that is something that can really do it on a real-time basis, matching the liquidity.
Yeah,
okay. I think there's a lot of opportunities in that that could even be coded in a smart contract way. But right now on that, I think the challenge, quite frankly, is that when it comes to regulator, given FATF, I think in Hong Kong, regulation also fall under that, is that when it comes to tokenized asset at the moment, the haircuts is 100%.
Oh, yeah.
then, well, and if you have something that you still have the liability, but it cannot be recognized as assets, then this become a really, really important issue. So I think as we got into PayFi, stablecoin, tokenized, real asset, all these things are happening. I think it's extremely important to actually rethink about the entire regulation framework to really make these happen. I mean, if this happen, think about how much insurance assets are there in the world. That is a massive amount. It's one of the biggest asset class. Then you can unlock a lot of asset into these type of investment vehicles.
So is OneInfinity working with this kind of RWA projects at the moment, or?
So this is something that we are, well, on the one hand, we are doing the protection.
Yeah.
On the other hand, like there are different guys that were in discussion that, hey, what about we put the premium to become a tokenized real asset, right? That is something that, like, so all what we want to do is to facilitate another massive asset class to be able to get into this Web3 era.
Got it. Got it. You know, I wanted to ask, apart from Alvin, you know, Devon, any other exciting projects, you know, in the PayFi areas? And again, you know, I wanted to understand what are the pain points, you know, over those innovative products. That
Okay.
you are doing.
As Alvin just mentioned, tokenized investment product is actually also an agenda the bank is thinking about. And of course, I do think this one, I would just pass it to Burgra. You got HSBC got a real good example for the industry to talk about how the tokenized or the investment product that can facilitate like new thingy, I would say. And for CA, we are more focusing on how exploring two things. One thing is, it's still within the PayFi regime is whether the bank can actually bank stable, right? Because today, the bank is actually holding all of the fiat. We are not holding any crypto. We are not having any wallet custody. But we know that from the client's need, they are holding some crypto. And they want regulated parties to do the custodian for them. So as the bank, we can actually provide an all-in-one service. That means they can put the fiat on our side and also at the same time put some stables in our side. So in this way, you can just treat the stable and another kind of currency for the FX. So they can actually easily to commit, like, for example, regular stable into the bank's regime, and then like to do some FX exchange to be some fiat, and then fiat out, and vice versa, the same thing. And this one is really important, especially for the B2B business. What they are talking about is when they got some stables from the overseas parties like Latin and Africa, and within the bank's regime, they can just turn it into fiat 724 real-time, best rate in town, and then they can do the disbursement elsewhere. There's one thing that we are talking about. And the second thing, of course, as a bank major business, we think about lending. So lending, we see that right now we are doing more about the fiat base, about the collateralized base, but for the collateral, it's still in the traditional asset like properties, cash, or even though securities. But when we talk about the value of the asset, about the tokenized RWA, or we talk about its crypto asset, right now we see some like not very favorable treatment from the Basel. So that means we cannot easily to grant a loan out by sitting this asset in our side. And also we haven't even talked about the custody. Custody is also another very heavyweight investment to the bank's regime. So I do think in the coming way, we will think about how the bank can do more bank stable agenda.
Yeah. Yeah, the custody regime is launching this year, targeting to launch this year, right, in Hong Kong. Anyone got insight about the regulations part?
Well, I think there is, I just run into some regulator early today. I think there's some announcement going on. I think the custody regime is going to happen this year.
Okay.
I think it's going to go through the Legislative Council, 3 readings of that. But seems like there are several things. One, I think today there's a good news that, like for example, when it comes to virtual asset staking, right? That is a big news that come out today, which I think is a very progressive move. I think that's one. 2, but ultimately I think the safety, security, and all that, I think is something that, well, they do say that it has to be majority of that going to co-wallet. Having said that, I think in the Aspire roadmap that SFC has come together, Like now, like something that we've been lobbying for a long time, it used to be 2% hot wallet, but if it's 2% hot wallet, then you need to touch a cold wallet all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, and what it means by that is cold wallet is not safe anymore. So I was really glad that in that roadmap, it basically has make it a lot more flexible. Now, there's another thing that we have been working together with the industry leaders is how can we make it a lot safer by even having a archival wallet kind of product, which like when it comes to ETF, for example, like ETF usually is on a subscription basis. You actually don't need to touch it very often. And then you really can safeguard it in a substantially safer environment. Okay, and that is also going to bring down the cost of insurance, for example, and all that, and just make the entire industry a lot more viable and sustainable. So I think there's a lot of innovation going on. Another part of the innovation going on that we have been in discussion with regulator with regard to custodian stablecoin is also on using AI to do the monitoring piece of it.
Okay.
In fact, I think last year we have detected one of the 3 top stablecoin in the world having an incident. Like people are really trying to knock on the door to crush in, and at the time we actually detected it. Okay, so we notified them. They changed the setting. It basically saved a hacking event, and there's something that I think is becoming extremely important when it comes to stablecoin because, like the volume of payment is so huge. Like if you have one major loophole into that, and that basically could cause a major incident. So I think this is something that I think is going to have a lot of innovations coming up with the red SI as well.
Yeah, I'm sure no one wants to have another Bybit accident again. Yeah, good point on that. So I guess going back to the question earlier that I was raising, you've mentioned Liang, you've mentioned Singapore, Dubai, all these different comparison on the regulations. How do you see Hong Kong as one of the Web3 hub, and also how do PayFi business navigate across these kind of regulatory bodies?
Sure, definitely. I think like if you compare Hong Kong and Singapore, there are many ways have similarities. But of course, like Hong Kong is traditionally a capital markets hub, whereby you have a lot of liquidities. Actually, so much more than Singapore. But in terms of regulators, the plan coming to this industry, I think probably one advice is that different regulators can work together, and it will become more efficient to drive out different business directions. For example, OTC is one area whereby there are different players right now in this market. So how does the regulator to properly regulate, yet not killing this space? It's something I think can have some lesson learn from on Singapore side, because Singapore everything touches on crypto. It falls under the MAS, the PSA license. It's more streamlined. Yeah, so for that front, I think definitely Hong Kong can improve a bit on that front.
Yeah, you talk about Hong Kong and Singapore comparison. What about Alvin? Do you know any insight on UAE? How's the comparison between UAE and Hong Kong?
Well, UAE has 3,000 blockchain companies over there now, so it's crazy. I know there's 900 companies applying for licenses. There were 28 licensed. There's 12 in principle authorization. So I mean, it's a crazy, vibrant community there. I think there are a couple of lessons that we can learn from it. I think one is, as Leo say, is a streamlined regulator structure, right? So having one regulator that can go, that I think that reduces a lot of communication cost. I think that's something important. I think also another part that is very important is to really encourage and drive liquidity, which I think is something that Hong Kong has started to move towards that. I think in Aspire roadmap, I think the key word is clearly liquidity. And I think there's something that it is extremely important to really encourage the big guys. I think be it the crypto native big guys or the TradFi big guys to all come to Hong Kong. And I think when I was talking to for example, HKMA and other regulators, when they're thinking about this, they really want to have all the different use case, G20 currencies and all that, and really drive the liquidity to be here. And I think this is really what, when it comes to a trading hub, and that's what Hong Kong has been really good at, from being an entrepot to the stock exchange and all that. I think that is really the cornerstone for us to thrive.
Right, right. In fact, GateIO is already also investing a lot in the Middle East, just to learn a lot on the Burgra licensing, applying for the license. So I think that's a trend, to be getting regulations in Dubai, and also to move some of the business to Hong Kong, and to follow the VATP licensing. Okay, and Burgra, do you have any comments from HSBC about the regulations? We have been talking a lot about the regulations. What are the pain points? Any insight from HSBC about on the PayFi, launching the PayFi business? Is there any things that you want to talk?
Yeah, I think we talked about Singapore and UAE regulations, but maybe we can look at from more global perspective. And let me try to summarize for you what happened recently. Let's start with US. And in US, we have seen some executive orders. In one of the executive orders, we've seen a ban on CBDC work. However, at the same time, it's promoting stablecoins backed by USD, and it also consists of exploration of crypto or digital asset stockpile. This is US, right? If we try to summarize in the simplest terms. And then if we look at Europe, markets in crypto assets regulation was approved. In short, MiCA. And one of the most discussed aspects of MiCA was the new rules about stablecoins, such as ban on algorithmic stablecoins. And if you look at Hong Kong, if we come to Asia, I think Hong Kong is a great example. We now have 10 licensed virtual asset trading platforms in Hong Kong. We have a stablecoin sandbox in progress. We have significant work in digital money, as I mentioned, Project Enbridge, Project Ensemble, EHKD+, and we have spot crypto ETFs and futures crypto ETFs on Hong Kong Exchange right now. So when we, Singapore and UAE, yeah, so we talked about this already. If we look at all of these developments globally, for sure these regulatory developments is driving more adoption of the technology. So we expect to see more financial institutions getting into digital asset space, particularly in digital money and tokenization.
That's great. That's great. So, we have been talking about a lot of stable coins. I've been seeing that stable coins and actually PayFi is very interconnected. And, to wrap up, is that what I've been hearing is more about the regulations. We have to be engaging the regulator, upfront and proactively. What's any final thoughts, to give every of you on for the audience for final thought? What's the tips or advice, the last tips or advice you wanted to share to the audience about the PayFi area? Do you want to start first?
Sure, of course. I think we can maybe wrap up like this. We've talked about balancing innovation and regulation. For innovation, how to achieve any innovation? There is no all-in-one formula for this. It's not very practical to get in a room, conduct a workshop for few hours with a few people, and get an outcome of innovation. It's very rare chances that you can achieve that. And it is very difficult to predict how the finance world would look like 5 years later from today. Everything is moving so fast. Regulation, technological developments, market developments, customer expectations, everything is moving so fast. So rather than that, maybe it's very important to establish a culture which can also adapt into any kind of potential market developments. And I think having an ecosystem where the fintech, TradFi, and regulators are crucial components, so it would be driving further innovation.
Cool. Devon?
I surely echo with just Burgra say it's a very fast and dynamic environment. So as the bank, we see it is like PayFi is coming very, very soon. And to the corporation ourselves, I do see we have to enable ourselves to be more nimble and agile, so that we have to like tackle with the changes and then react swiftly. So that I do think like the next battlefield for the FI we will talk about is more on the customer experience. Because I do think the infrastructure are there and everything about we talk about stablecoin, we talk about those kind of tokenization. We do think that that's all our tools. And how the banks can actually just utilize those tools to share some new customer experience so that they can feel good about the bank in order to win the loyalty. That's the first thing.
Okay, Alvin.
Yeah, well, I actually want to get back to one thing that Burgra brought up on zooming out the bigger global regulatory landscape, like for example, MiCA. Well, MiCA was just effective literally 3 months ago. MiCA, I think there's one line that is extremely important when it comes to PayFi or other guys is that any operation failure will fall under the responsibility of the platform itself. Okay, so you can no longer say good luck, bad luck to the users, and for that reason now, if you look at a number of different regulations, including Hong Kong, including Thailand, Japan, and different guys, a lot of them have this 2% regulatory capital requirement, which, I mean, this, when it comes to payment, when it comes to PayFi, it could be an astronomical amount of money that we're talking about. And I do know that a lot of people have complaints or different things about that, which I really can have empathy about it. So Hong Kong has brought it down to 1%. Still, it's not a small amount. So like when we talk to different regulators about this, why everyone has put in this 2% or 1%, it's really for the sake of when it comes to, for example, one hacking activity, 2 lawsuits, right? And all those stuff, how are you going to be able to account for it? Okay, you simply cannot afford a scenario where the one-to-one, like the packing, like it's gone. Okay, so I think this is something that, we are working very hard with the regulator, with the industry participants, how we can use insurance as a way to actually bring down the capital requirement. Okay, so I think that's something that, well, in order for PayFi to go up substantially in adoption, I think this is something that also is important to bring up, and I'm hoping that this can really balance innovation and regulation and make it a thriving environment.
At HashKey OTC, we serve institutional clients and also high net worth clients. What we have observed from the last, I think, 1.5 years is that the speed of adopting like stablecoins as part of their normal business operations have grown exponentially, right? So when you see this and when you want to replace a portion of your like business BAUs using stablecoins, that means you got to be careful and you got to be aware, like what kind of risk are you dealing with, right? So in crypto space, you have counterparty risk, you have a lot of like money laundering and other kind of involved risk. So make sure you have a strong compliance team for you to navigate in this early, but sometimes can be nascent space, right? To stay solvent, to also not be cut out of these normal banking rails.
Yeah. So I think, in the PayFi areas, it really matters to work with regulators to be compliant in order to get the mass adoption. Otherwise, you have a very innovative product, smart products, but that couldn't get everyone to start using. And a lot of regulations that we have been talking about, be it Hong Kong one, Singapore, Dubai Vera, or even MiCA in Europe, these are all the areas that we should be focusing and, getting compliant with. So thank you, thank you for all the insight. I guess we have a good representative in banks and insurance as well as the crypto exchange. So any questions that you would have, we will be around in the networking area. So catch us up, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks to our brilliant panelists. Okay, let's take a group picture first. Please look at the center, our photographer. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Thank you so much. We have gathered invaluable perspectives on this topic.